Okay, welcome to this community conversation on digital innovations for livestock development, hosted by the Livestock Data for Decisions Network, LD4D. I'm Vanessa Maidu, Communications and Knowledge Exchange Specialist for SEBI Livestock, the Center for Supporting Evidence-Based Interventions in Livestock, which facilitates LD4D. So for those of you who are new, LD4D is a worldwide community of members and partners working to improve livestock data and evidence in low and middle income countries. LD4D aims to support the transition to more sustainable and inclusive livestock systems by mobilizing trusted livestock data for better policies, investments, and strategies. So some technical guidance before we get started. We're recording this meeting and we will publish the recording to our YouTube channel afterwards. Please use the chat anytime to post comments and use the Q&A to post your questions. We, and that includes the panelists, will do our best to address these questions throughout the meeting and during the dedicated question and answer session. So on your Teams menu bar, you should have a button that says Q&A. If you hit that button, you should be able, I'll just see if I can share my screen to show you. So, apologies. So you should see a button Q&A, and you should be able to post a question in there. And if you have a question for a specific person, put their name in so that they know who the question is for, and you should be able to. So I would say here is my question for Vanessa, and that will make sure that that question gets recorded so it can be answered. Any comments you can put in the chat as well. Okay, so I will now hand over to Dr. Louise Donison, who is our head of data and monitoring, and she's the deputy director of SEBI Livestock, for a word of introduction. Let's see if we can get Louise on the call.
Thanks, Vanessa. Welcome to our LD4D community conversation on digital innovations for livestock development. The goal today is to showcase and learn from digital innovations in the livestock sector with a focus on solutions being applied in low and middle income countries. We're going to explore over the 2 days both cutting edge technologies and innovative applications to existing technologies. The event is designed to foster learning across regions and to provide an opportunity to explore collaborations through the LD4D network. We've curated a diverse range of presentations and innovations to help us explore new ideas and approaches, highlight successful implementations across various contexts, and demonstrate the potential of digital tools in addressing key livestock challenges. We're also really excited to introduce perspectives from the wider agricultural sector via our guest speaker, Dr. Mariëtte McCampbell. So over the next 2 days, we really encourage you to engage actively with the presenters, share your own experiences and insights, and consider how these innovations might apply to your work. And the way we think about this could guide our future LD4D initiatives in this area. So we really encourage you to embrace this opportunity to learn, connect, and shape the future of digital innovations in livestock development. We are now going to turn to our guest speaker, Dr. Mariëtte McCampbell. Mariëtte is an expert in digital agriculture, socio-technical innovations, social inclusion, and participatory design methods. She has extensive experience in the Global South, and she is an independent consultant working on projects for and with research and non-profit organisations such as Wageningen University, Athena Informatics, CGIAR, USAID, FAO and FCDO. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise, and it's an honor to be here today. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, you should be able to see my presentation now. Like I said, an honor to be here today. The presentation's aim is to provide you pretty much a broad overview of what's going on in the digital agriculture sector in general, not just only livestock specific, trying to highlight some trends and opportunities and challenges that I'm seeing today. And I also really posed a question, are we repeating cycles, or are we truly making progress as a sector? So first, I want to set up with just setting the scene a little bit, providing you with some facts and figures in case you are not fully up to date on those. Today, we see well over 1,000 unique digital agriculture focused innovations. And these are only targeting the low and middle income countries, most of them being active in sub-Saharan Africa, also a lot in Southeast Asia, but altogether covering an astonishing 81 countries in low and middle income regions, although just only 10 countries actually cover 67% of all the innovations being active there. And these include some of the countries that also today's innovators are coming from. So, for example, India, Kenya, and Nigeria, as you'll see later. Yet, I think we also need to keep in mind that despite these impressive numbers, still to date, only approximately 10% of all smallholder farmers are being reached and actually using digital agriculture innovations, and only 20%, 26% of them are women. So there is a world to win still, a massive digital divide. And on top of that, I think very important, given that this is a livestock event, crop production is far better serviced to date than the livestock and aquaculture sectors, as we see in research. Now the question, digital technologies, what are they being used to? Well, primarily the entire value chain is being covered, all the way from downstream inputs, think about financial services, seeds, markets, chemical inputs, but then also supporting producers with their production, all kinds of information systems, decision-making systems, as we see farm management today as well, and then going all the way downstream to offtake, like marketing, distribution, traceability systems. So the entire value chain. I gave some examples of what you can cluster them, but really, if you think of it, we're thinking about gaining some control about in the value chains and also trying to optimize, becoming more efficient, becoming more effective. That is what it all comes down to. And in 2022, I co-authored the technical study together with Wageningen Research for FAO's State of Food and Agriculture, which in that year was really on digitalization and automation. And we developed this illustration, which I thought would be quite useful for today as well. And it really gives an overview of the broad spectrum of technologies and solutions that you can think of when we're talking about digital, all the way going from a lot of control to less control in the farm. And in practice, we see that the vast majority are actually digital solutions. So a lot of the different mobile platforms using mobile phone technologies and remote sensing. But there's a lot of experimentation that has been taking place and ongoing with, for example, drones. We get an example of that in tomorrow's event, but also IoT, a lot of examples today, some mechanization, perhaps less relevant specifically for livestock, but I think in crop production, definitely. And then lastly, we get a good example of that today on whole farm digitalization, trying to really have an integrated system. Interestingly, though, if you look at this figure, it was developed at the time when generative AI hadn't really taken off yet. And so we could not have foreseen that when we look at the low and middle income countries today, the vast majority of the applications of artificial intelligence, and especially generative AI, think about chatbots, is among the digital solutions. At the time, we thought that it would be a bit more in the advanced technologies. So I think quite interesting. Lastly, for this figure, I think good to understand that the majority of the technologies are targeting smallholder farmers as such. What does that then bring us in terms of, digitalization? Why would we bother? Why would we try to digitize and automate? I think, again, it comes down to trying to increase production, having better market access and linkages within value chains, ultimately, of course, improving livelihoods. But I think also lots of things around, can we cope with stresses, which are becoming increasingly problematic, pests, diseases, again, important topics in today's event, climate stress, and thinking about inclusivity. Can we get everybody on board? The major SDG promise, we're leaving no one behind. Yet over the past decades, we've learned a lot. A lot has been going on. And we've seen that some of the challenges that we were seeing already for decades in the agricultural sector with the introduction of technologies, think about adoption issues, social inequalities, they're just as much there when we're talking about digital innovation. At the same time, some new challenges emerge where we've been learning lessons about ethical issues, thinking about data, privacy, governance, as well as I think increasingly environmental sustainability. What does it do when we introduce digital technologies to farming systems, to the environmental impacts of farming, but also just the technologies itself, their consumption of electricity, for example, or the mining that needs to take place to develop these technologies. New challenges, new questions. I'm trying to summarize them today in a couple of trends that I'm seeing. And I think on the one hand, and it just brings us back to this question, are we repeating cycles or are we making progress? I think I'm quite optimistic when I'm looking at these trends. I see a lot of progress, a lot of lessons that have been learned, and we're trying to really, do better increasingly. And I'm very happy to see that. We're shifting the focus away from just thinking about access, how many people are registered on a platform, and really starting to think about closing also second and third level digital divides. What is people's capacity? What is their digital literacy? And can they actually really benefit? Can their farm do better? Can they really increase their income, for example, improve their livelihoods? And this is about measurable impact. I think another trend that we're seeing is integration and at the same time decentralization of solutions. They seem a bit countering each other, but I think they're actually going quite nicely together. We see diversification to new and other countries. Think about these 81 countries in total, a reusing of existing innovations. So, adapting them to different contexts. One-stop shops, as they call them, or bundled services. So bringing different services together. I think we're seeing some examples over the next 2 days again. And also one services being available on different platforms, trying to become more inclusive, reaching out to those that really are dependent on a basic mobile phone to the ones that can already use chatbots or are able to access the internet. Thinking about digital inclusion, it's on everyone's agenda. You can't miss it. And I think it's a very, very good development. But we've also shifted our focus from just only thinking about men versus women, more to intersectionality. Yes, you can be a man or you can be a woman, but you are probably also a livestock farmer or even a pastoralist. And if you're a pastoralist, does it then matter if you are a female and you're married or you're unmarried? I've seen an example last year in Senegal with pastoralist farmers where really that had an impact on people's access to digital technologies. Good to keep this in mind. It's also about meaningful inclusion. Yes, you can be registered on a platform, but do you gain a benefit from that? Or might it actually be harmful? These are good questions, bringing us to think about human-centered design, really putting people central in the design of digital innovations. But my question as a researcher is also, is that enough? And I think for the livestock sector, this is specifically interesting. Maybe we should also consider the livestock, the animals, as some of the users of the technology, especially with some of the examples where you see IoT devices that are basically used by the animal. I think it's a good one, but also think about environmental impacts again. Bringing us to responsible innovation, another mega trend, unintended consequences. And I think we've by now all seen digital is not just only a good technology. Sometimes it can have some harmful or frightening impacts, also including, again, the environmental impact on top of economy and social impact. Digital ethics, all there, thinking about data, thinking about farmer-centric models, thinking about who is governing what, who is owning what, who has the right to, take the decisions about data, and becoming more and more important with artificial intelligence. And this brings me to 3 trends that I think we need to watch. First, we're seeing a bit of a reduction in the financing, and this is perhaps a bad thing. I mean, the sector is maturing, But it also means that some innovators are not surviving, right? They're needing to close. And also fewer innovations are entering the market. So something to watch. Is it a good thing or something to be worried about? Artificial intelligence, many opportunities, but perhaps we're trying sometimes to go too fast or not always thinking about the impact, not always thinking about what it actually contributes. Concerns are being raised about biases, hallucinations, exclusion, etc. And I think the last one, I've seen it a lot in my projects, actually farmers, that 10% are just a handful. Many others are not necessarily using digital agriculture innovations, but perhaps using WhatsApp or YouTube. And the question is then, is that a good thing? They're used by farmers, they're readily available, cheap, they match their capacities, but also owned by big tech companies. So lots of questions. Now, my last slide before I finish off, just summarizing the impacts of these trends and opportunities. My thoughts, I think we're making progress. We're going from just a hype, from inflated expectations to becoming a bit more realistic about what is happening. But also, we've left, I think, the disillusionment. At some point, I think we were quite disappointed with digital technologies, but we're moving to productivity. And yes, that means perhaps less financial support, but also stronger business and revenue models, really thinking about what is there that there's a demand for. Now, my hope is that we can actually continue with this, with the introduction of generative AI, without repeating this entire innovation cycle altogether again. And the last thing I want to share with you is about the focus on inclusion and benefits for users, really demanding from innovators. And I hope we see that in their presentations today, to take real life problems as their entry point and not all the opportunities that technologies are offering. And that sometimes can make us a bit over enthusiastic without thinking, is there a true need for it and how? It also demands from us that we think about unintended consequences, and that's across the sector. And I hope that this will lead to a better match between demand supply, more thoughtfulness within the sector, more inclusion and equity, but on a voluntary basis, and ultimately positive impact and sustainability. That's it from my end, and I really can't wait to hear from the innovators now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mariëtte. That was really insightful, and I think a lot of people have probably noticed a few of the trends that you've mentioned, and hopefully we'll see these as applied to real world problems in our innovation showcase coming up. And that's really how we came to choose the innovations in our showcase. We started by asking them, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? So we're going to shift gears right now and move into our innovator showcase. And I'll just put up on the screen the running order and the speakers so you can see that. All right, so we've got 5 speakers covering a range of geographies, covering a range of themes and topics, and we're really excited to hear from them. If you have any questions, again, please post them in the Q&A and note in your question which presenter the question is for. So without further ado, we shall turn to the presentations, starting with our first presenter, Ugochi Izuora.
Hello everyone, my name is Ugochi Izuora, and I'm here to present on Livestock 247 Animal Identification and Management System, L247 AIMS, a product by Livestock 247 Services Limited, based in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm the head of programs and partnerships for Livestock 247 Services Limited. We are everything livestock in Livestock 247. This is who we are, and this is because we have products and services that attend to the various needs of stakeholders from within the livestock value chain, from production up until final consumption. So it is a cloud-based system for collecting, analyzing, and managing livestock data. It revolutionizes livestock management by providing real-time monitoring and end-to-end traceability for livestock and livestock products. Its use promotes public health, disease prevention, data-driven decision-making within the livestock value chains, within various aspects of the livestock sector. So what does it do? It addresses the lack of traceability of livestock and livestock products due to inadequate data gathering, management, and storage. It also enhances data-driven decision-making by stakeholders within the value chain who can access the data real time, to make informed decisions. It is the first cloud-based system for livestock data gathering, and it ensures end-to-end traceability of livestock products and livestock in a bid to prevent the spread of zoonosis, which is one of the core goals of Livestock 247. Now, due to its unique positioning and the fact that the platform can be customized for various needs, Livestock 247 can be used by various players within the livestock value chain. Even new entrants to policy makers, as the information from the database can be used to enhance decision making. It is used by farmers, farm owners, consumers of livestock products, policy makers, livestock business enterprises, and different people even outside the livestock value chain, for different purposes ranging from decision making to identification, traceability, data, farm management purposes, and what have you. So some of the insights generated from Livestock 247 animal identification and management system is, herd health and performance tracking information, breed and productivity optimization, feed and nutrition management, resource utilization, inventory and supply chain management. These are insights, that can be generated when the platform is used as a farm management tool, but also because the platform can be customized to fit different needs. For instance, in Nigeria, production of livestock is mostly done up north, and consumption is done mostly down south. So most of the consumed products down south is produced in another state and different states really. And so if we are customizing this product for a state down south now, it can help the livestock, the stakeholders within the livestock industry of the consuming states know the state that brings in the most diseased animals, the state that brings in the better cattle, better goats, and what have you. So, it can help with data, disease spread patterns and analysis, origin and product life cycle to enhance traceability, other non-agricultural insights, for instance, livestock movement records. So you can use it to track and say, okay, it's on Tuesdays that cattle from so-so place is coming into Lagos. Lagos is usually has a lot of traffic because of livestock coming in. So it can help people within, like, say, for instance, Ministry of Transportation make decision, and it can be used for different purposes depending on how the platform is customized. It can also be used for security of livestock and livestock owners, because banditry and cattle rustling, rustling is a big issue. So this can help curb that. So how is this an innovative product? So it provides a reliable, shareable information gathering management system for tracking livestock data. It's cloud-based and can be updated and viewed real time to help with monitoring of the farm, or depending on the part of the value chain you are playing in, decision making and enhancement of traceability for public health purposes. Also, the platform can be customized to be fit for purpose, for different specific situations, such as state governments, organizations, depending on the data requirements of the organization. This will be all from me for now. Thank you all very much, and I hope to get your questions.
Namaskar. Welcome to my presentation on livestock management system by Tata Consultancy Services Digital Food Initiatives. India is #1 producer of milk in the world. It contributes to 23% of global milk production. But there are certain problems in this sector. Average milk yield per animal per day is lower in India compared to US, which is 30 kg per day. In UK, it is 22 kg per day. In April of 2022, the wholesale price index for milk, ghee and butter has risen because of increase in the fodder price index. Ultimately, the retail consumer paid a price of milk at 54 rupees per litre. India's annual milk production was estimated to grow at 0.9% in 2022-23, slowest in the last 15 years. Climate change is also affecting this sector. 5% increase in average temperature results in heat stress and decrease in the milk production at 11%. In summer of 2022, the decline went up to 15%. Consumer have to face price escalation. Post-COVID, jump of prices was up to 18%. A large cooperative like GCMMF Amul saw a decline of 1% in the production, and there was a shortage of Amul butter and ghee. India had to import milk and milk powder to meet the demand internally. 20% of fodder cost also increased. The wheat production in Punjab dropped, so there was a 20% rise in the fodder prices and 15% rise in the milk prices. There is also fodder shortage in the country of 23.4% for dry fodder. The drying of irrigation facilities are responsible for making it harder to grow the fodder for the animals. India's demographic challenge is also big. One third of the country is young, less than 14 years of age, which are consuming milk in higher quantities as a source of protein. India's retail sector is also pushing up the sale of dairy products 15 to 20% on an annual growth. Diseases like the lumpy skin disease killed more than 184,000 animals in India in 2022-23. National level economic loss was more than 18,000 crore rupees. What does our innovation do? Our innovation is bringing together the herd managers, farmers, veterinarians, artificial insemination and embryo transfer providers, dairy cooperatives, etc. on one platform. They can use these services and the modules in this platform for the cattle registration, cattle identification. In the breed management, they can go for the entire cycle of embryo transfer, PD, calving, the calf certificate, artificial insemination, semen order management, etc. The cattle care, they can get the advisory, the weather-based alerts, vaccination calendar, disease warning, etc. In variables and tracking, the RFID-based animal tracking, feed and fodder management, forward and backward tracking, adverse data management, adverse event data management, etc. In feed management, the weather-based feed advisory is there, breed nutrition management, alerts, fodder-based ration balancing, etc. Image analytics, processing on the edge can give the first-hand diagnosis of the disease, the health parameter monitoring, etc. What new insight does our platform offer? In the breed genesis, we are trying for Gen AI for breed risk profile, progeny traceability. In animal health behavior, we are looking at BCS-based ration scale, cognitive animal demeanor, health cycle detection, symptomatic appraisal, etc. In climate smart feed, remote sensing can be used for feedlot crop cycle management, procurement planning, and also regenerative agriculture practices can be monitored. In GHG emission and looking at the environment footprint, we are looking at the research, measuring, reporting and validating the GHG emission and the global warming potential forecast as well. The digital audit and risk control self-assessment can be done. Grower score metrics is there for rewarding the good agriculture practices and good livestock practices. We are developing the chat bot services for the Gen AI messages for collaboration, bot services for anomalies and at herd and regional level, two-way communication with the general AI chatbot, etc. How does this improve or innovate on the previous ways of doing things? Formerly, there was no early diagnosis, random antibiotics were used, no ethno-veterinary remedies were used, there was lack of advice at the right time. Cattle was considered part of the family in India, but their needs are different. The visit to the cattle happen if there is a peer pressure or some government local campaign is done. Also, the pros and cons of artificial insemination embryo transfer is not known by the farmer. So no health records were kept, no decision was taken, no training was received. However, after our platform, these things have improved. Farmer is getting the right information at the right time, and he is getting empowered. All the other stakeholders are also getting empowered, and we believe that we can help India grow, bring in the milk revolution 2.0. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Shin, the founder and CEO of Bodit. It's an honor to have the opportunity to share our story of revolutionizing the livestock industry through our precise signal processing technologies for behavior recognition. Can you identify which cow is sick or in bad condition? This is a challenge every farmer faces every day. Even though the animal keeps speaking by behavior, it's really difficult to understand their signals. This lack of understanding causes poor management, low productivity, and even death. It directly results in lower levels of animal welfare for cattle and reduced income for farmers. Globally, this means more resources are needed for production. That's why we developed the farmers' hands to listen their behavior. How about now? We can see which one is healthy or unhealthy, right? Like this. Farmers' hands detect cattle's subtle movements through color-type sensor and analyze disease-related behavior and estrus behavior data. How long do they suckle their mother's milk? How much do they take of feed and ruminate? Also, we count the number of calves. We inform this information to farmers through the app. Coughing is really difficult to distinguish from jumping or playing with other cattle, but we can detect it with our precise signal processing. Even we capture exact pattern on the smallest movement, rumination. We handle very complicated signals, but we wanted to make it easy for farmers to use. So what do you think? Isn't it easy to understand? Thanks to our app, farmers can see all the cattle's health status at a glance with detailed data. We could translate the cattle's behavior to farmers with easy way. We believe in the power of data in livestock farming. We have already seen positive changes implemented by farmers, especially smallholder farmers. The early disease detection gives a chance for timely intervention. That's the reason we could get big results in Korea in 3 important areas: mortality rate, productivity, and weight deviation. To be more specific, in Korea, more than 2,700 cattle within 60 farms are using farmers' hands and still secure less than 1% mortality rate. It means we could save 345 cattle. Our success story extended to Kenya. We supported 13 farms and saw a big drop in mortality rate from 32.6% to 0.6%. Isn't it amazing? We even found a farm with an 80% mortality rate could achieve 0-point mortality by addressing their most severe disease, East Coast fever. We initially focused on productivity, but we could see it affects lots of global challenges like no poverty, no hunger, gender equality, and climate action too. I really love our project. The livestock is everywhere. By continuing our research efforts with IRRI and SRUC, we aim to enhance farm effectiveness, animal welfare, and climate resilience in livestock farming, particularly for smallholder farmers worldwide, with a special focus on developing countries. We've been focused on empowering farmers to create better livestock environments through precision livestock farming. But now we are ready to take the next step. We are prepared to bring it to consumers. We are ready to introduce certified data-driven products that can contribute to a sustainable market chain. We can't do this alone. With your network and resources, we can make it happen faster and have a bigger impact worldwide. We really care about those signals overlooked in our society. Let's bring the warmth of care together. There are 1.6 billion cattle waiting for us. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Sukesh from Stellapps Technologies Private Limited. Today I will be presenting mooON, an application suite designed for tracking cattle health and managing small to medium dairy farms efficiently. This suite is specifically designed for developing dairy economies like India and Africa. Stellapps Technologies, an Internet of Things startup based in Bangalore, India, is building a traceable dairy supply chain for smallholder farmers, addressing productivity, quality, and traceability. It currently digitizes 14 million liters of milk daily, impacting 3.5 million dairy farmers. Organizations involved in dairy extension services face several challenges regarding data-driven monitoring tools, measuring the impact of programs, technology adoption by extension team and farmers, manual data collection, lack of system integrations, and poor infrastructure in rural areas. These affect decision making and strategy formulations. mooON addresses these challenges by offering tools that optimize herd performance and farm productivity. It leverages artificial intelligence for data aggregation and analysis to provide actionable insights. This includes herd management module, which captures the cattle details including species, breed, etc., which can be entered while onboarding and analyzed later. Dairy experts will be receiving alerts for critical tasks in farm like AI, PD, deworming, etc., which ensures effective breeding and health management. By entering the milk production data, the lactation curve, peak yield, and other metrics of cattle like persistency, etc., can be analyzed efficiently. The feed calculator provides advisory on dietary recommendations based on breed and stage in life cycle of cattle. This is very critical in doing ration balancing of cattle. mooKYC helps in identification of cattle through muscle images, and mooBCS helps in estimating body condition score through just capturing an image of cattle. A certificate called Cattle Kata is there in mooON, which consolidates all the essential details and historical data of cattle. A wide variety of customizable reports are there in mooON, which helps in a lot of data analysis and decision making. Alerts sent by ActiTrack device help in heat detection of cattle through animal activity. This ensures timely insemination in farm. So these are images of some of the features which we mentioned, like task management, feed calculator, mooBCS, mooKYC, and cattle kata. So as we briefed, through mooON reports, we can derive various insights at the animal level, farm level, and route levels. These help dairy experts to make informed decisions to improve farm operations. Let's look at Naranappa, a small-scale dairy farmer. Before joining Stellapps, he was earning less than $2 a day, having 2 cattle with very poor yield. So Naranappa is one of the beneficiaries of mooON tool. Our team, with the help of mooON, increased his productivity 20 times and his income around 23 times. Now he owns 10 lactating cattle with a herd size of 16. As you can see in the picture, he renovated his farm and started using modern techniques like milk machine with the profit generated. In conclusion, mooON offers a comprehensive solution for dairy farm management, addressing key challenges and driving better outcomes for farmers and organizations alike. Thank you for your attention. If you have any queries or questions, feel free to reach out at the email address. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ronald Katamba. I'm the CEO and the founder of Jaguza Tech. Our focus is to empower livestock farming, strengthen food security, and improve the mitigation of climate change. Our technology, I'm together with my co-founder, Christine, who's going to give the presentation. But I just want to make sure I give the side of what the improvement we've done for these 2 minutes I have. So we have embedded drone technology that uses AI to make sure it can detect the animal disease and crop, and also make sure it does the automation. So we're doing AI to make sure we don't allow cows to move out of the range. So every time the cow moves out of the range, it sends, it automates and it moves, and then it makes sure it prevents that cow from moving from that range which it was demarcated. So we're doing a pilot here in the US, in New York, and yeah, that's the kind of improvement we've worked on. Thank you. I think Christine will add on our presentation.
Hello, my name is Christine Kihunde, a co-founder at Jaguza Tech. 70% of Africans, that is 150 million rural African farmers, significantly depend on livestock for their socio-economic sustainability and general health. African Union report also estimates $2 billion are lost annually in livestock, whereby 25% of these are due to preventable diseases, together with cattle rustling, market inaccessibility, and poor farming methods. As Jaguza, we have come up with an online and offline livestock management system that is focusing on empowering livestock production to strengthen food security using machine learning, Internet of Things, sensors, and data science. Using our smart ear tags, farmers are able to detect animal diseases 48 hours before the diseases manifest. Through our mobile application, farmers are also able to access important information such as effective feeding, housing, weather forecasts of 21 days, animal waste and management, therefore mitigating the problems of climate change. Through our record management system, farmers are able to trace all their animal production activities and hence ensuring healthy animals and quality products to curb down the problem of malnutrition. Farmers, through our market platform, are able to access market prices, animal drugs, and equipment through our market platform. Our customers, who are the livestock farmers, veterinary doctors, and researchers, are able to access a modern-day platform, which is online and offline, a one-stop platform to handle all their livestock needs. Africa has 370 million heads of cattle, whereby we have installed so far in Uganda, Fiji, Namibia, and Mozambique, having a total registered farmers of 55,000 users, whereby 26% of these are women. Our devices are accessible in tags of 10, 60, and 200, going at $100, $300, and $1,000. Over the past 4 years, we have been able to patent our device and install more than 23,000 devices and 70,000 still in the pipeline. With $2 million investment, we shall be able to assemble a plant for our devices, cutting down the cost and also creating jobs for the natives, creating more awareness, and also research and development. For more information, join jaguzafarm.com or download our mobile application on Android and Play Store, as well as join us to make a happy farmer and also feed the future generation. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So that is the end of our round of presentations. I'd like to really extend a warm thank you to all of our innovators. They worked really hard to prepare their presentations, and it's not easy to get everything into 5 minutes. So hopefully you have a good insight into what they're trying to do. But of course, now we have the opportunity to dive in and have a bit of a conversation. So what I would like now is to invite all of our presenters and our guest speaker to turn on their video and audio so that we can begin our panel session. I also want to note that we'll continue to use the Q&A. I've seen some really fantastic questions and comments posted there. Lots of answers and discussion already happening, so please do continue to use it. However, I know that some people are having some technical problems with the Q&A. If that's the case, of course, you can post your question in the chat. We'll try to keep track as well. So use the Q&A, and if you can't, please use the chat. So if our innovators could all turn on their videos, please. And we'll have a bit of a round of questions. First of all, I'm going to invite our guest speaker, Mariëtte McCampbell, to ask the first few questions to our innovators. So over to you, Mariëtte.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vanessa. And Yeah, super nice to see all these presentations and all these different innovations and the great things they're working on. I think I'm going to start off with one question that is actually going to be posed to Jaguza, but I think it has a bit of an applicability to some of the other innovators as well. So my second question is going to be to more of you. But I was actually really delighted to see the Jaguza example, of which, you know, seems to be a pretty much locally developed intervention that is even patented, and a service that is thriving in Eastern Africa today, a region that I'm quite familiar with and is close to my heart. But I'm very curious to hear a bit more about your IoT device. And I know you actually explained it in a bit more detail, Ronald, in your short presentation. But one question that I'm still having is, like, how are farmers today who have invested in your IoT device truly benefiting from it already? Can you explain a bit about that?
Thank you for that question. Actually, we've been having a lot of awareness for this device, you know, making sure people coming from that indigenous type of farming to modern day of farming from rural area, it's not easy. But what we do is we keep on creating awareness. And on the other hand, as you said, we are in the process of having a plant in Africa where we can set up this device. We develop them ourselves on a cheaper price. The costing of the device is becoming a problem. You know, as you know, people in rural area, they don't have, they can't afford $10, $15 to make sure they could buy a device, to make sure they could use it. So we make sure few people. That's why you see, would have been in 50,000 by now device, but we are now into 23,000 device, which so far we installed. But we are happy that we have now a progress of 75,000 users who have already registered, and 55. And these ones are coming in such a way that others, they come for USSD and SMS, because we also focus on those small holder farmers who cannot afford a smartphone, but they can also be able to have this kind of thing. So this is the kind of device which is solar powered, and it helps farmers to make sure, even if there is no internet, they can be able to access it can charge itself to make sure they can be able to have access to this device with all the activities on the other side. So the cost of the device, we're into awareness to making sure they could be able to afford this kind of device, and also planning to set up manufacturing plants to reduce the 50% of costing, where instead of going to Taiwan and China, where we do the mass production of these devices, we can be able to set them in Africa, where we can be able to sell to nearby other countries to make sure they could come out and make sure they could benefit on what we have already.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I really actually love to also hear you say about two, I think, key challenges. You know, you added solar panels to your IoT device, which takes away the necessity to having actually power access at the household, which I think is great. And also that it actually operates being offline, another major challenge, as I know from experience in East Africa. I think my second question I'm going to ask you more to Ryan and Sukesh from mooON and Bodit, because I love the example for mooON in about Narayanapa's, and I hope I pronounced that right. You know, how he might be hopefully increasing his income 20 times just due to the investment in IoT. But again, I'm also getting to, and it's great that you already mentioned this, Ronald, like this question on, you know, investment in IoT devices. It's a major issue for farmers. So hearing that it's just a 20 times increase, I still wonder what's the actual return on investment? How long does it take for that farmer to earn back that money? And how accessible is this innovation actually to the millions of farmers in India, but also in Kenya and South Korea? So this is really about inclusivity, actually, you know, something I'm working on. Can you say a bit more about that? And this is really a question to both of you.
Yeah, I'll start first. So basically, as you would have seen, like in the PPT itself, you would have mentioned Naranapur were having 2 lactating cattle with very poor yield. So that's where we have started relationship with the farmer. So once he joined our network, so we started onboarding him in our mooON platform. So basically, as we said, like mooON is a platform which is helping extension team to run their programs, to develop strategies on how to advise farmers, etc. So we have a good extension team which help farmers who utilizes mooON, and they help farmers and develop strategies and advise them on what to do on the farm practices. So our extension team first started doing all the tasks of the farmer, like deworming. So they will used to get all the alerts in mooON, like deworming, when to do deworming, when to do artificial insemination, when to do vaccination. So they started doing all the tasks properly initially. So farmer weren't doing, or he was a bit casual on all these farms, because as everyone knows, the timing of these activities are very critical in livestock management in order to get a proper productivity. So team started with doing all the critical tasks timely. Then farmer weren't knowing, or he hasn't had much idea on what to feed a cattle properly. So we have our feed calculator with us. We we did a ration balancing for the farmer. So we told him like what to feed exactly in order to gain proper productivity. So we have our mooBCS device through which we advise this farmer like your BCS score is not proper. So in order to correct it, these are the corrective measures. So we corrected that. So once farmers started producing more milk, we started using more analytic tools from mooON. So we even guided farmer on when to purchase animal. So once he generated more profit, like he were eligible for getting more loans, or his bureau score got increased. So we advised on when to purchase, like based on the dry periods. We got an idea from one when the dry periods of cattle are synchronizing, etc. So we gave that advice. He purchased more cattle. We started, or our extension team started tracking his herd thoroughly. So so it's actually a combination of tracking multiple metrics, like we used to check the pregnancy rate of farm, then dry period rate of farm. And so these are actually combined effort of all these activities which led to this increase in productivity. We even have our procurement team. So we started procuring his milk. So due to our activities, his milk quality got increased at that time. So he were getting more income for his milk. So we have our input vertical. We started supplying him good veterinary input or dairy related inputs like cattle feed, etc. So we have our fintech vertical. We supplied him cattle loans based on his eligibility score. So at that point, he was pouring us continuously. He increased his herd size. He started pouring more. So actually, it's it's a 2 to 3 year work which we done on that farm. It's a combined activity of multiple things which led to this. So mooON helped our team in tracking all the metrics of the farm properly and how to strategize and advise what to do things timely. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great explanation. I think it very much shows a good example of how this is also a long-term process. That benefit won't come overnight. It takes time, and it's something that happens progressively. Maybe Ryan, can you actually ask us a bit about what's the return on investment? So, when will the farmer actually break even from his investment into your service or your solution versus when will he actually make a profit from that?
Actually, our solution started from Korea. That is a really big point because in Korea, the beef cow, the price is very crazily high with about $10,000 for each beef cow Hanu. So in case of that, their calves price is also very expensive, like $3,000 for 6 months calves. But in Korea, we had a 13% of the mortality rate. It means among 100 cattle, 13 cattle can be died within 3 months. But as other guys said, the problem is farmer cannot see the preventable disease or illness at the beginning. So we wanted to make sure they could have the exact golden time slot to timely intervention is able to cure their disease. So we dropped down less than 1%. So in case of the 100 cattle dairy farming or the beef farming farm in Korea, they could get the return ROI or almost 5 times within just 1 year. That's crazily innovative in Korea, but in case of the Kenya and developing countries, we are making the business model. They cannot buy this with just one payment because we focused on very, very subtle movement and very fine movement analysis system. So just to bring that to the one-time payment, it is really expensive for them. So what we are looking for and we are making is to get a price from their premium price. For example, we can give them to establish the tools for make sure their quality of the livestock animal health, I mean animal behavior-based animal welfare level insurance. So in case of that, they can make a little bit premium market with, for example, in Kenya, about $0.2 more expensive products. Then they can get 0.5% of the income. They can get more, and in case of that, we can get another half of the income, premium income. So in case of that, we are making they can return their or investment within 2 years. That is our currently building business model. But there are more opportunities for with government or the organizations support for low level or low level of the I mean the interest loan with their government system supporting system. So that is another option they can, I mean the developing country farmers can get. So by using these kind of things, they can improve their productivity, then they can get more incomes and they can cover that kind of more investment within very short time. That is what we are looking for. And that's why we focus on their very subtle movement and their disease really carefully. So.
Yeah, thanks. This is such a great example, I think, of how as you start scaling horizontally, so from one country to another country, you find out that the context is entirely different, and that also demands you to rethink your business model and your revenue model and the entire solution. That's fantastic. I think I'm going to give the floor back to you, Vanessa, because I'm sure there are plenty of more things that you want to cover. Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's been a really great question. Just to remind everyone, there's some great discussion going on in the chat. So keep that going. I'm going to now come back to the panelists and invite you to pose a few questions to each other. So I'm wondering, Ugochi, do you have a question for any of the other panelists that you'd like to start with to get things going?
Thank you very much for this session. Beautiful execution all around, and wonderful work to all innovators. Good job, well done. I'd like to ask, I think that my question has kind of been answered, but I just want a little bit of clarification from Jaguza Tech. We seem to work in similar clients. I'd like to really understand how your pricing model works. How does the pricing go? What's the how does it work? That's my question. Thank you.
We have different products based on different modules. I give you an example. We have a team of veterinary doctors online who are there to give services to farmers 24/7. And these farmers, they can be able to, doctors, you don't have to be in Uganda, anywhere you are, can be able to attend to a farmer in the farm. They take a picture, a video, and they can be able to see the doctor can be able to see real time exactly the cow, the prescription, and give the prescription live. So these doctors, they pay us money to make sure we put them on the system. So we've been doing the kind of Uber, the way you see Uber how is doing. So they pay us, we put them on the platform, and then when they get money, that money is there. So for us, they pay us subscription. On the other hand, in terms of drugs and equipment, so we sell drugs and equipment, and at the same time, we give farmers. In fact, it helps us a lot during COVID. That's where we earned some money when they were selling their cows through our platform. So many farmers were selling and buying from our platform, and also buying equipment, and we take for them this kind of things. So we get commission from them. So every we don't charge the person who's buying, we charge the person who's selling. So the person who put his product on our platform, we charge them. But someone who wants to buy, we don't charge them. So we used to make sure we get money out of that. So on part of the device, that's one of the most critical. Our business model is, our value proposition is on our device and market. And how we do it is we make sure we get this device. As I told you, I have to sign, because of our patent, we have to sign the data share agreements with the manufacturer in Taiwan, and then also in China. We don't do it in one country. So we get one part from China, we get another part in Taiwan, and then come and assemble them ourselves. And we are saying it costs a lot of money on our side. And that's why by the time they reach to the destination, we charge a lot. So at the end of the day, you find farmers, they don't have time to make sure they could buy this kind of equipment. And they are few. So our business model is, how is there a way we can have a plant, either in Africa or in other country, where we can be able to own this device ourselves? And that means we shall subsidize on the costing of the device. And many farmers will buy this at a cheaper price. And then at the same time, we shall make sure we have the revenue, which is a bit okay on our side. So in terms of monetizing our product, we make sure, for example, our livestock management system, farmers pay us $50 per month to make sure they could access the breeding, the feeding, the milk production, keeping track of their milk production, and so on. So they pay us. That's also money on the side. So it's more like a self-service where farmer comes and say, there are farmers who come and say, I don't want disease. I want to track my cow where they are. There are also farmers who say, I don't want to track and disease. I want to market my product on my platform. So we give them access to make sure they could have information, what they want in real time, and make sure we help them with disseminate this information.
Thanks,
people
Ronald.
with small phone, they send us and we advertise for them. Because they don't have smartphone, what we do is we make sure we advertise for them on the platform, and they pay us some small coin to make sure we send their service to people outside there. Thank you.
Thank you. These are really important insights, because country by country, you're going to have a completely different strategy, I think, for pricing and for marketing and reaching your customers and so forth. So that's super insightful. I am actually aware of the time. We have a few more things that we want to discuss, and I want to make sure that we touch on some of the excellent audience questions that have come in the Q&A. Most of them have been answered. So again, thanks to the panelists who are multitasking and answering questions at the same time. I think a question that I felt was very relevant is a question from Fernanda to all presenters is, are there policies or government interventions that could accelerate adoption of these devices by farmers, or these maybe beyond devices of these approaches? And what are your thoughts on how political decisions, so low interest loans, national programs to improve milk quality, etc., can help farmers to adopt innovations? Because I think in this panel, we have sort of a very wide spectrum of government support. I think India government is very, very advanced in some of these things and kind of nationalizing the traceability and the tagging and so forth, whereas other countries might be taking a slightly different approach. So would someone, I think Ugochi, you had reflected briefly on this. Do you want to share your thoughts on what kind of government support would be beneficial in terms of improving adoption?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, government support is very important in improving adoption, especially in a place like Nigeria, where we have farmers, like I think I wrote it somewhere in the chat. Farmers are not willing, especially livestock farmers, for ruminants. Now, poultry farmers are more willing to, they're easier to get on board to pay for services, but livestock farmers are not willing to pay for anything. And usually they wait until the last minute when it is almost impossible. Now, I'm talking of provision of animal health services, when it's almost impossible to do anything before they then reach out, or they self-medicate and what have you, which is also not good, which also has its own issues. So yes, we need government support. I think sometime last year or 2 years ago, the National Animal Identification and Traceability System Bill was passed. It has not yet been implemented. And we're still looking at how that will be implemented, considering how politicized the livestock sector is in Nigeria. But yes, definitely, we need government support. We need government support. And so one of the things that we at Livestock 247 are also doing now is we're liaising with different state governments. We have 36 states and then the FCT in Nigeria. We're liaising with different state governments to see how they can adopt the platform for their own state. And because we know that if more states adopt this platform, and we can have those benefits for different, purpose, like for different purpose, depending on the state, we might be able to achieve some of the goals that we want to achieve. But yes, definitely we need government support. I think top of the mind, one of the most important things that we need government support to do in Nigeria with the livestock sector is to reduce or stop the politicization of the livestock sector. So usually what happens is around election season, one government will just declare free vaccination, free healthcare, and because of that, the producers are now desensitized to pay for services, which affects innovators and entrepreneurs within the system. So it's almost like that political thing. People now, the producers now waiting for government support to do something that they should do. I think we cannot move forward if we do not get government support on various issues. But that is baseline for me as an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have a feeling that many others share those sentiments with you. So I think we'll take one final quick question. Is there, just checking in the Q&A, I realize not everyone has access. I think one question that just came up is, if the livestock farmers are not willing to pay, is there a reason for that in your experience? Have you encountered this, that they want the service free, but they're not willing to pay? Has anyone encountered this?
Yes. I've encountered it several times, and I think I already answered that question. I think one of the reasons they're not willing to pay is because, like I said, the sector has been highly politicized. So they know that, recently in Nigeria, I think 2 weeks or last week, the president declared the ministry approved the Ministry of Livestock Development. And even that is a huge debate in Nigeria as we speak, because some people are saying, oh, he's setting up that ministry just to appeal to a certain tribe. That politicization is not good for the sector. It's not good for sustainable development of the sector. So because of things like that, many of the producers within the sector, especially the producers now, are not willing to invest, putting money into the sector because they are used to getting freebies from either the government or another issue is, developmental organization. So, and I think I wrote this in the chat box. We're now having roundtable discussions, with different stakeholders, including governments, policymakers, even those of us within agricultural development. We're now having roundtable discussions and saying, okay, what have we done wrong up until here? And then how do we move forward to make this sector sustainable, develop in a sustainable way? So yeah, we've experienced that severally.
Great.
And
Thank you
Vanessa, I would
all.
like to add to that.
Absolutely. Let's hear from you, and then unfortunately we're going to have to switch a little bit the conversation into the next topic. So over to you, Siddhesh, please.
Yeah, no problem. So in India, in terms of incentivization, what we realize is if we are promising a better milk yield to the farmers, then partly they are ready to invest. And another part comes from the local government. So in artificial insemination as well as embryo transfer rollout, the promise of a more milk, which adds to the family income, that is helping the farmers to take a quicker decision. See, at end of the day, it is a commercial lookout for the farmer.
Vanessa, I'll just add one point from our experience. So, as you said, like along with farmers, even technical workers or extension workers are not even completely comfortable with the technology. So that is one observation which we got from our journey. So government should create a clear environment for innovators and farmers for creating that, and organizations like LD4D can easily work on those while collaborating with government and other agencies, etc.
Thank you. So I think there's an emerging theme is to understand what are these enabling environments and how can they lead to success and successful scaling and so forth. And if there's something missing that maybe has been done in another country, is that something that can be learned from? So sadly, I have to wrap up the panel discussion, but don't leave yet. We are going to hear from everyone because all of this is leading to the big question, of course, so what and what next? So I'd like to invite Anna Miranda, who's the LD4D Development Manager, to share with us a little introduction to where we're at in terms of LD4D as a network and generating impact, and what we're proposing in terms of next steps after this exciting discussion. So Anna, over to you, please.
Hello, it's nice to see everyone here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So we see this discussion as an opportunity to identify how our network can have an impact on innovations for the livestock sector. So we have recently developed a new impact statement, and it aims to promote the transition towards a more sustainable and inclusive livestock system in low and middle income countries, focusing, and our focus is on providing data and evidence. So it would be good to use the discussion today to surface some ideas with you on how we can progress towards this goal. So as a first step, we could propose a stock-taking exercise of livestock innovations. We could, with your input, conduct an analysis of the available technologies as well as good practices for promoting innovation in the sector. The output would be a summary brief, but we would like to hear from you and see what you would find useful, what we would think would make a difference, and as well as the areas where we should focus on. So some of the areas we thought about are lessons on scaling up and transferability, digital inclusion, best practices, data governance, AI trends, satellites, and apps. But we would love to hear your input on this now. So over to you,
Thanks,
Vanessa.
Anna. Yeah, so this is kind of the interactive portion, continuing the interactive portion. So we have a little web tool, which you should be able to see on your screen just now. It's called an ideas board. I will quickly demonstrate, and then I'll share a link. So there's already some suggestions on here, as you can see. If you really like any of these, you can upvote it. So you can just click little thumbs up. If you want to add another idea, you click add sticky, and then you type your idea in here, and it'll come up. What we request is that you don't delete anything and you don't change any of the existing stickies. So you can add your own notes, and you can also vote for any other ideas that you like. So the link is in the chat now. Hopefully you can open that up in a browser tab and take a few moments to think about, are you an innovator? Are you someone who wants to start applying innovations? Whatever it may be, what would be useful to you? If there's something that's not on here, please add it. We were very curious about what people are interested in. Essentially, how can we build on the knowledge and experience that's been shared today, and of course, in the wider livestock sector. I'll give you a moment to start adding your thoughts. And I see some people have also upvoted some of the ideas, which is great. Quite a bit of interest in scaling and transferability, and I think that came up in the discussion as well. People curious, how have you done this? How have you scaled up? Fantastic. Okay, so someone has entered policies that enable development and adoption of innovations. That's what we just discussed. That's really useful. Not a lot of love for data governance. It's a tricky topic, perhaps not the most exciting, but a really important one, of course. Great. Okay, so someone has edited Siki says lessons for scaling and transferability, also making it economical, inclusive, and to incentivize stakeholders. Okay, great. I'm wondering if perhaps Mariëtte has any thoughts on what you're seeing bubbling up here as we go.
Sorry, I just needed to come back to this screen to unmute myself. No, I think there are some great things. I actually also voted for the lessons for scaling. That was definitely one, like scaling and transferability. I think there's still something we can learn about that, and we've been discussing today and hearing how important also local context is. So like, to what extent can you really scale without taking context into account, and to what extent do you really need to adapt and all that? I think that's something where we still have to can learn lessons. I think when it comes to digital inclusion, we already know a lot, and there's a lot of material. So there I can see especially that it's also about bringing things together, what kind of practices have been working. And on my own side, and I think it's because it's also an emerging interest from me, but also really, but at the same time seeing how AI and generative AI is now booming. I think it's really time to think about the implications and how are we going to govern it, and when is it going to be useful and when not, so not to fall into some of these past traps. So yeah, those are some of my initial thoughts. I think there's a lot more to discuss there, but yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not reinvent the wheel, really trying to build on what's already known and tested.
Yes.
And, other people's failures are a good source of learnings as well.
Absolutely.
Really
I think failures
ideas.
are probably our best lessons to learn, much more sometimes than actually our successes. So we should celebrate our failures, as they sometimes say. Yes.
So perhaps next year we'll invite you all back to share, each of you to share your best failure so far. Could be useful. Okay, we'll get a few more thoughts noted in here. Any other reflections from the panel, perhaps, on what you're seeing coming up here?
I like the fact that they have talked about the raising awareness of use of digital innovation to increase livestock production. So I think we need to make sure we focus on keeping on creating awareness to digital technologies to smallholder farmers, so that they can be able to understand how these tools can help them to make sure improve their productivity. Not only the smartphone users, but also even the rural sector where there's a much need where we need to go. The use of USSD, SMS, and these other kind of technologies that we can make sure we use, because the circle groups where we can organize them and make sure we train them, we give them information to make sure they could understand through farm groups, creating them, making them to know that technology is the way to go, not the other way around. I think that's a very good approach to make sure they could understand what we're doing.
Thanks, Ronald. And I think there's something to say. It's not only about having the most cutting edge technology, it's about using it well. And sometimes even simple technologies are not used well. So I do encourage you all to tune in to tomorrow's event. We have a whole different set of speakers. One of the speakers is going to talk about, they've set up a call center. So in the Sahel in West Africa, pastoralists can just pick up an old Nokia phone, call in and get customized grazing forecasts, water forecasts, weather forecasts. Someone on the other end is doing all the analysis, but they're, translating into the local language. And sometimes that's what's needed. It's not, you're never going to reach some people with smartphones. So you need to sort of meet them based on their needs. So I'll leave the sticky notes up. I will.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just one point. When I have some issues in typing, so
Okay.
I would like to add this sustainability point into this because whatever practices, technologies which we develop, that should be helping in improving the sustainability part.
Do you want me to add that as a sticky?
Yeah.
Okay, I've just done that. Great. Right, so sustainability as a key goal for everyone.
You can add for me also the implementation of experimental data sets for researchers, policymakers, to make sure they could read this the kind of data sets for learning purposes. Make sure they could also get use of information what we focus on.
Great, thank you. Before I turn to Louise, who's going to give some closing remarks, I want to sincerely thank all of our innovators. Like I said, they've worked extremely hard. They've given us their time. They've shared their ideas. We hope that this is the beginning of a conversation. There's been some requests for the innovators to leave their email addresses in the chat or their website addresses. If you are happy to be contacted, please go ahead and do that. If you want to just leave your website address, you can do that too. There may be some audience members who'd like to reach out and connect with you. So please do that before you go. And then I'm going to hand to Louise for final words.
So firstly, thanks very much to all the presenters for really a truly inspiring discussion. This is a really great start for an ongoing conversation for us on the future of technology in the livestock development space. Over the next year, we are planning to convene discussions where we can dive into specific topics. So this has been a really great start to that series. The first topic we have in mind is the use of satellite technologies for closing data gaps in the livestock sector. But we're really keen to work with the LD4D network to develop insight briefs documenting technology opportunities and best practice. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity to contribute on these. If you want to get involved, make sure you are signed up to the LD4D newsletter at livestockdata.org. But before we close, we'd really love to highlight an excellent resource for digital innovations. So we invite you to explore and also share your work through the Digital AgriHub. This platform collects and publishes data on digital agriculture solutions deployed in low and middle income countries. And it has over 1,200 curated solutions spanning 134 limit countries. This dashboard is used by investors, donors, and other key stakeholders seeking information on innovations. So we really welcome your continued participation and suggestions. And to close, we invite you to share via a poll one idea that stood out to you today and one thing that you found most useful. Please enter your words into the poll, and a huge thank you.
So thanks, everyone. And to our speakers, have a good rest of your day or good night or good morning. And we hope to stay in touch and see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Vanessa, for giving the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you so
everyone.
much.